in the world, Dr. Cook, can it be allowed to not know a price of something until 30 days later? And it still happens today. So you ask me, can we have hope? Yeah, but they're not complying right now. And the transparency, they don't have the Blue Cross rate, the Aetna rate, the Humana rate. All of them are different. They don't have all that at these hospitals. How can you do that? You can't find it out. So it's impossible.
Paging Dr. Cook. Paging Dr. Cook. Dr. Cook, you're wanted in the OR. Dr. Cook, you're wanted in the OR.
Welcome to the Prescription for Success podcast with your host, Dr. Randy Cook.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Prescription for Success. I'm Dr. Randy Cook, your host for the podcast, which is a production of MD Coaches, providing leadership and executive coaching for physicians by physicians to overcome burnout, transition your career, develop as a leader, or whatever your goal might be. Visit MD Coaches on the web at mymdcoaches.com, because you're not in this alone. Today, we'll be hearing part 2 of my conversation with Carl Schuessler, Jr. He has some really different ideas on how we can get control of healthcare costs, and he's already got some results to prove it. So let's hear the rest of the conversation. Well, it's mighty good to know that somebody is interested, and it's mighty good to know that you guys are getting a lot of attention on the strength of standing up and say, there is another way to look at this. And, I don't know how loudly to say congratulations or how grateful that I am to know that somebody is doing something about it, because it really had gotten to be pretty much unbearable. I retired 2 years ago. I was like a lot of physicians. I'd reached a point where I spent more time fighting with insurance companies and fighting with hospital administrators than I did fighting disease. And it shouldn't be that way. And what you've done is to show me a little bit of a hope, a little inkling of hope, that maybe we're going to be able to put the patient back at the center of things once again. I certainly hope so.
Well, the only challenge we got is we can only do it one employer at a time. We tried to boil the ocean, if you will, Washington, D.C. And you learn real quick the amount of lobbying money. And I was laughing when you said special interest speaker today. I'm like, don't call me a special interest group.
I'm sorry. I hadn't really thought that might be a pejorative term.
No, that's okay. You're good. You're good. I'm just having fun with you. But the amount of money and the lobbying money is in the millions and billions. And when you look at that, there's no way we can change it there. Now, as I often say, we're boiling the creeks. We're going to then boil the rivers. We'll boil the lakes, and then we'll boil the ocean, and we'll meet everyone else, like Patient Rights Advocate, who is led by Cynthia Fisher and Aloria Santangelo and Linda Bent. They're great people. Marnie Jameson, Carey. They're doing unbelievable work. You might know a few of those names. They were involved in our conference back in June. They are unbelievable. All the hospital transparency that you're seeing, Dr. Cook, is really the backbone of all that was coming from Patient Rights Advocate. Those videos you saw of our clients, Patient Rights Advocate came and they heard about what we were doing, and they in Florida, and they wanted to feature these clients if the clients were okay with it, which they were. Former HHS Secretary Alex Azar and the White House have a front row seat there, and they were showing these things. Actually, President Trump was supposed to meet the Gasparilla Inn in Orlando at the HIMSS conference in February of 20. And it was the first, and the HIMSS is a big health technology conference. About 40,000 people converge on Orlando. And it got called off because of COVID. His first
Yeah.
COVID canceled conference. But so they spent a month in interviews with the White House to meet him. And I'm not sure, and I laugh. I mean, I think Trump was very curious. Maybe he was also curious because they were a hotel and he has some hotels. And maybe he was, I'm not sure. How did you guys save almost $4 million in your health plan? But anyway, long story short, Patient Rights Advocate did those videos. And that's how they help move the needle. And so all this transparency stuff started, $300 a day fine if the hospitals don't comply, which they'll just sell one more aspirin a month and cover that. but the bottom line is now they're talking about maybe taking it 2 million. Biden came out, I think last week was an announcement and so forth. But their tireless effort to do that is helping, change things. But again, that's boiling the ocean, and that's a long, long play. We can do this if we can take this to a grassroots level, Dr. Cook, and get these communities like Arcadia. If we can bring the city, the county, the school, and any other large employers into this fold and mimic the plan we built with DeSoto Memorial Hospital. Again, we also remove barriers to care. Most of our plans have no deductibles. They have no copays for things. So everyone can take care of themselves. Today, we have a functionally uninsured society because their deductibles are so high, they don't have $500 in their checking account. So if they go to the hospital, they're bankrupt. So people avoid care and delay care. Forget COVID. They were delaying care before COVID ever came out. So we eliminate all those barriers. So if we can do that and bring the city, the county, school, we have a community plan. We can relocalize care. We can keep the money on Main Street instead of sending it to Wall Street. And that's what has to happen.
Just almost unbelievable. Yeah, it really is. And my hope here, I don't know if it's your hope or not, to create competition, but my hope is that because of what you're doing, the BUCAs will look around and say, you know what, we might better rethink our model. We might just be competed right out of business. Do you ever see that happening?
I hate to be this way.
Not in our lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, I just there's so much money, Dr. Cook. I mean, I could tell a story. I think if I say it, somebody's going to think I'm a wacko. But if you want to hear another one, I'll tell you. And you go look this up. I will never forget. It was November 19. We were doing our benefit education meetings at DeSoto Memorial Hospital. The Fair Cost Plan was going into effect January 1st of 2019. And we were down there, and Dr. Gross, he was in there talking about what they did with direct primary care and so forth. He goes, "Hey, Carl, did you hear about Daniel Best?" I said, "Dr. Gross, I'm going to feel real stupid. I think I should know who that is, but I don't." And see, I'm always pretty honest, Dr. Cook. If I don't know, I'm going to tell you. You may not like the answer, but I don't know. And so that's one of the things I've got from my father and my mother. I just try to be hopefully as honest as the day is long. But anyway, long story short, I said, "No, who is it?" And he goes, "That was Trump's drug czar. He died of multiple blunt force injuries to the head." I said, "Really?" And he said, about a week ago, he announced how he was going to save Medicare and Medicaid $5 billion. Lives in a private condo or apartment community, gated and all that, locked down, dies of multiple blunt force injuries in the hall. Go look it up. It was never in the news, ever in the news. Now, I'm not going to say anything, and I'll just let you guys figure it out, Dr. Cook, or you can come out and be so bold to say what you think happened. but I'm just telling you, and really from all this time that I've done this, a good buddy, Bill Rustenberg, who's a benefits advisor in Texas, he created something called the Schuessler stick. So it's a metal rod with a mirror attached to it. So we run it under the car before we crank it up every day. Because I'm telling you, when you start to get to this stuff and really what's happened with that school district, the CEO of Cigna flew down there to meet with them when he saw what they were doing. Now, let's go back there. That's a fellow, I think, that makes $45 million. I mean, it's not IBM, but I think they were worried to death that the gig is up. And it's that first pickle out of the jar, Dr. Cook. By the way, I'm amazed how many people don't know that saying. But the first pickle out of the jar is the toughest to get out, and the rest come out easy. And if that word gets out, every school district, every employer is watching that. And so the point is, and they're on track to save well north of $10 million this year. That's a big deal. That's more money in the classroom. Teacher raises. more music programs for the kids. So anyway, that's the bigger part. And when you ask, do I think it's going to change? I think this is so tough. By the way, just because you've been so nice to me today, I'll give you a Schuessler stick at a 50% discount. But here's the thing. It's normally $100,000 for one, Dr. Cook. So we'll give it to you.
I
We're going
see.
to give you the Buca PPO discount today, and we'll
What a
do it for
guy.
50. But anyhow, but yeah, I hope it'll change, and I think that's why we, as the benefits advisors, might have. And I know Dave Chase referred to this in an article a long time ago in Forbes. One of the most important jobs in the country, because we can change, and everything starts at grassroots. And if we can change this and change these communities and get people the care, it's just crazy that people can't get care. It's just not right. But I know from my father, I mean, he said, there's all, we don't need to go there today, but is healthcare a right or privilege or whatever? And there's all kinds of debates on that. But I mean, it is crazy that we can't do something. And there's so much money in the system. These hospitals are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's proven there's no economies of scale. It doesn't save anyone money. It raises the prices. And we just can't continue down this path. And it just keeps happening. I know Biden came out and said the FTC was going to stop and step in these mergers. I know that one of the big brokerage mergers got called off the other day, but they're having to pay $1 billion penalty to the other one or something for not doing it. Well, that $1 billion comes from the public.
Yeah.
Who cares, right? I mean, it's just, it's crazy. And you're playing with $1 trillion. That's why I'm not joking when I tell you sometimes I do get a little worried. And I'm just a little old Carl, old Southern boy. But you get noticed, and you're playing with a lot of money.
Well, and I appreciate your honesty with that, and I feel a little bit like I should apologize for the Pollyanna question, but I really didn't want to come out here and say basically what you said, and that is, as we would say in the South, son, don't you understand that you're about to get in the ring with a great big bull?
I call everyone son, so people get offended by that, but I use that. That's great.
Well, you and I
love
understand
it.
each other.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We do. But
I mean,
think
that's a fact. I mean, when we think about the proportion of the U.S. economy that is represented by healthcare, the dollars are too numerous to count, and none of this is really going to happen without a gigantic fight the way I see it. And it sounds like that you may be in agreement with me on that.
Yes, sir. 20, I guess it's 18, it's close to 20% of the GDP. And it's just crazy when we know, Dr. Cook, and we see that our groups over a 5-year period, many of them have had no rate increase or change in their premiums. Matter of fact, some of them had rate decreases on their stop loss coverage. So the pattern today in corporate America, or the employers across America, and it's the ones you referenced earlier, especially the smaller ones, is each year the broker meets with them. Hey, you need to raise your deductible when you're out of pockets. Well, that runway's about out, but you need to raise because of the Affordable Care Act. You need to raise the deductibles. So let's make the benefits worse and charge the employees more. And that model is what everyone continues to do. And our model is different. And I think the other thing, and I've learned this from my good buddy Chris Yarn, also AKA Frank Mike Droppa. You ought to have him on your show. Very talented individual who's written healthcare songs in a Frank Sinatra way. He calls himself Frank Mike Droppa, drop the mic. You need to meet him. He's a hoot. But Chris is also an honorary mitigate partner and also on our board. And he's got a company called the Walk On Clinic. Great company. He's doing some unbelievable things. You ought to check it out, Walk On Clinic. But long story short, he says, Carl, what ought to happen is I would love to go around to every employer in America and ask the employees, how many of y'all would vote for single payer? And a lot of these employees at these companies with not great benefits probably would vote for single payer.
Mm-hmm.
I would love them to go talk to our clients and see how many would vote for single payer. What? I don't even have a deductible. Why am I? What? I don't know. We're pretty good. I mean, and that's really the telltale tale right there. I think that's the litmus test. And Chris has always said that, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. I don't know if you like that, but that to me is what it's about. And I think we got to get back and get these, as I know Dave Chase has, rehumanize these plans. We've got to get these plans built correctly. And the other thing, Dr. Cook, that happens is the plans you build, the plan designs has to reward good decisions. And what I mean by that is
Exactly.
if Dr. Cook, if we have a cost and quality partner that does the work and they find out that, Dr. Schuessler is who you should go see, but, and you decide you want to see Dr. Cook, they don't know Dr. Cook's Dr. Hodad, hands of death and destruction. but I'm still that Dr. Marty McCary in his book, but Unaccountable, and his new book, Price We
That's a
Pay.
great book. Yeah.
It is great. Matter of fact, Unaccountable really changed my benefit advising career.
Is that
And
right?
my dad read it, and he validated a lot of it too. He said, "There's a lot of truth in here, son." So,
Yeah.
I just wanted his opinion too. But long story short, how do you pick? We think you ought to go see Dr. Schuessler. And I'll tell you a quick story. My father. So, Dr. Cook, I grew up. I played a lot of golf at the time. I don't really play anymore. I like to hunt and fish now. But my dad was never at the golf course, and I worked at the golf course. And I said, "Dad," and I'll leave the fella's name out, but Doctor Golf. They called him Doctor Golf, by the way. He was at the golf course all the time. Solo practice OBGYN, Doctor Cook. Solo practice.
Wow.
Now, how can you're on call every day? I can't really figure it
Nonstop.
out.
Yeah.
So he's out there playing golf all the time. And I said, "Dad, he doesn't have 4 partners. How the heck can he be here all the time?" And He said, "Son, I'll never forget it." See, this comes to roost later in life, Dr. Cook. I had no idea I would ever tell this story, but I'll never forget. He said, "Son, his C-section rate's 50%, mine's 15."
How
Well,
about that?
I think, and you understand, and we get into transparency. Dr. Cook, you can't find any of that out on any doctor. And I'm not here to berate doctors, but you can't. And when I come in the doctor's office, boy, they're going to get the 5th degree. I'm going to ask a lot of questions, and they probably don't want to treat me. People don't know this stuff. So wouldn't you want to know that my wife, Missy, is going to get cut on 50% of the time? Or she may have a vaginal birth, 15.
You
I mean,
betcha.
you
Yeah.
want to, and so you can't find that out. So our cost and quality company helps identify those physicians with better outcomes, lower readmit rates, whatever, depending on what the procedure is, less physical therapy, whatever it is, depending on what the procedure is. And what we were able to do with that is this. So the people we require in our programs that the people have to call. And anytime an elective or pre-certed procedure. And if they don't, they get penalized in some plans. And it's a pretty hefty penalty, so most of them want to call. And the reason we want them to call is not because the employer is playing Big Brother. It's for them. It's for them to find out. Just because you go out and have beers with a doctor who lives down the street from you doesn't mean he's a good doctor. He's a great person, but doesn't mean he's a good doctor. And there is a difference. And you know this. You practice. Not every doctor's got the same skills. They just don't. Just like a lot of benefit brokers or advisors are different. And so anyway, by that information, we tell you to go see Dr. Schuessler because, he's the best in the world, or you can go see Dr. Crow. Dr. Crow's not recommended, but here's the thing, Dr. Cook, you can go see Dr. Crow. You can go see whoever you want, but your benefits are going to pay like they've always paid if you see Dr. Crow. But if you see Dr. Schuessler, there's no cost at all to you. You go there at no cost. And that's how plan design has to reward good decisions. That's how you make this stuff work. And a lot of brokers don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And you have to build, and the doctors need to understand this too. And I've worked with orthopedists. Just because you're on the BUCA panel, Blue United Signet and Humana, one more time for all those folks. I probably said it too fast, but all those folks out there, you're in their network. Great. Good for you. But what if I could build a plan, and we've identified Dr. Cook is the best orthopedic surgeon in this little part of this town, and you go to Dr. Cook, there's no cost to you. We're going to steer, everyone's going to go to you, Dr. Cook, because they're going to vote with their wallet.
You
In a
bet.
BUCA, everybody's in the network. Nobody's special because everybody's in there. So we try to build these plans that way. And I wanted to say that to your audience because I know there's going to be a lot of physicians here. That's how you do this. That's how this works. And you want to identify and build the best high performing, and I hate networks, but our custom network development partner, Connie, does a wonderful job here. And what about having a network with the best, highest quality performing doctors you can get for all the different procedures? But you give the member the choice. They have the choice. We can't make them go. They have the choice.
That's a good way to persuade people to make good decisions.
Yes, sir. I think people vote with their wallet, and
You bet they do. Yeah.
But and here's the other thing, Dr. Cook. In medicine, you probably know this: price equals quality. Most things in life, not in healthcare. And for the sake of argument, I think you'd agree with that. And
Absolutely.
and in healthcare, you can study the data. Like we had a person having a knee replacement in St. Petersburg, Florida. There were 60 doctors that did knee replacements, and the cut
Is
by
that
our
all?
cost. Yes, sir. I know. Really, that surprised you, doesn't it? That's right. That's like aren't there more knee replacements done in Florida than anywhere in the country? I'm
There's a
assuming.
lot of them.
Yeah. So the bottom line there is there were 60, but then the cost and quality company says you need to do at least 50 procedures a year because you're probably pretty proficient at it and you're good at it.
Yep.
So we went and did that. Out of the funnel dropped 16. Then we looked at the outcomes and readmit rates. Out dropped 8. I'm sorry. And then we looked at the cost of the implants and so forth, and we get to 6. And then after the last cut, 4 fell out of the funnel of 60 that would measure up.
For
Now,
all of Pinellas County.
yes, sir.
Wow.
And here's the part. Now, and what I say to everybody, to the employer, I said, Mr. or Miss Employer, what are your chances of your employee picking one of those 4? Because right now they're all in the network. They're all in your network right now. How are you going to pick them? And that ability, I think, and again, listen, there's a debate there too. Your physician partners in the groups y'all work with y'all's organization, they'll argue, oh, what are they looking at? What data are they looking at?
Of course.
It's commercial insurance data. It's Medicare, which, people can argue. When I had those orthopedic surgeons or people question me at the ortho forum back February 20, I said, y'all make some valid points, but let me ask you, what are you doing for your employees? Nothing. I said, so I guess what we're doing is pretty good. Give me a break. As I told you, it's evolving. None of this is perfect, but it's a lot better than what's out there. And that's, to me, a lot better. And think about it, Dr. Cook. You go buy a TV set, you can study TV sets and Consumer Reports in every source. There's thousands of pages. If I want to find out about how good a Dr. Cook is, I can't find out. He's 4 stars with whatever health grades. Okay. So he has free parking. Wow, good for him. No, I'm just saying it's not good data. How can a person make a decision out there? The hospitals, you think about this, we always saw, what if we bought groceries the way we buy healthcare? It's on our YouTube channel. You can go look at it. This video. What if we bought groceries the way we buy healthcare? It's hilarious. And everyone laughs. And I get upset when I'm speaking in these audiences because they say, what are you laughing at? That's what your members are doing. How in the world, Dr. Cook, can it be allowed to not know a price of something until 30 days later? And it still happens today. So you ask me, can we have hope? Yeah, but they're not complying right now. And the transparency, they don't have the Blue Cross rate, the Aetna rate, the Humana rate. All of them are different. They don't have all that at these hospitals. How can you do that? You can't find it out. So it's impossible. So my point to you is, every other thing in America, every other thing we purchase, we would never purchase without knowing the price. And you already
exactly
know,
right.
I'm preaching to the choir on this stuff, but our programs, the member knows the price. They know the price before they go. And if we are able to negotiate a cash price, which we do quite often, the member can have 50% of the savings off of what the plan would have paid, up to maybe a cap of $1,000.
Remember medical school? You were confident, studious, hardworking, and you learned what to expect in all manner of patient care. Then reality struck. Regulations, expenses, staff management, and administration. Is this what we signed up for? Stress on the verge of burnout, no time for family, or the reason we got into medicine. Helping people. What are the options when you're afraid you're in the wrong career? Transition? Teach? Quit? What if there was another way? MD Coaches can help. We're a team of medical professionals with a century of experience in the clinical and business sides of medicine. More importantly, MD Coaches has been where you are, stressed and trying to navigate a world school didn't prepare us for. MD Coaches is your mentor, your confidant, to help you make your practice shine, navigate administrations, and successfully lead staff and projects. Or if you're ready to transition, we can help there too. MD Coaches is doctors helping doctors. Visit our website to receive a free, no-obligation consultation. Go to mymdcoaches.com/RX. That's mymdcoaches.com/RX. Isn't it time someone else was on your side? Don't let the business of being a doctor stop you from doing what you love. That site again, mymdcoaches.com negotiator.com/RX. Visit us today.
We'll get back to our interview in just a moment, but right now I want to tell you a little bit about Physician Outlook. If you haven't discovered this remarkable magazine, please do so very soon. It was created by physicians, for physicians, to showcase the intersection between clinical and non-clinical interests, whether it's writing, painting, cooking, politics, and dozens of other topics. Physician Outlook gives a physician perspective. It's available online and in print. It's really unique among physician lifestyle magazines. And like the Prescription for Success podcast, Physician Outlook amplifies the voice of any physician who has something to say. It also engages patients who still believe in physician-led, team-based care. And Prescription for Success listeners can get 3 months free when you enter our promo code RX for Success and select the monthly option at checkout. That's a really great deal on this stunning publication. And now let's get back to today's interview. And you know, Carl, you would think that somebody who has practiced medicine for more than 4 decades would be able to find their way around that system and not get stung in these situations. But now that I am elderly and I am consuming healthcare, I'm telling you, the surprises that jump out of my box every day are just about to knock me off my feet. And if it can happen to me, I can't imagine what it must be like for people who are younger and facing young people's malignancies and traumatic injuries and things of that sort. So it's not fair, and your point is so well taken. Nobody would put up with that for anything else that they shop for, but yet they put up with it in healthcare.
Well, Dr. Cook, Gasparilla and DeSoto, we use a hospital down in that region. I'm going to remain nameless. You could probably figure them out. But they charge $37,000 for a vaginal birth.
Holy cow.
37. I told my dad that he fell out of his chair. Okay. 37 grand. Forget the doctor. That's $37,000. And with your Buca discount, it's only 18, 19. What a bargain. Guess what, Dr. Cook? We're able to pay 30 days in advance of the birth. If it changes to a C-section, you have to adjust the price. We pay 30 days in advance, and we can pay $7,500 cash. That includes anesthesia and everything. That's the kind of thing. And if the members call, like I told you, the way we built our model, they call and we can do that. And that's what we do. That's one of the very many techniques that the Fair Cost Health Plan utilizes. But that is what needs to happen. And the scary part is, and I know you know all this, and patient rights advocates all over this, and that's for anybody out there, patientrightsadvocate.org. Check it out. I mean, they are fantastic, doing great work. But that's what they're trying to do. And I just think it's criminal that we can't know that. And I mean, and how many times a doctor does a procedure, and again, the doctors, they're taking care of patients. I don't believe the doctors are trying to pull any punches on anyone. That's just the way the system's worked. But I tell you, if you're a great doctor like you were, or my father was, I mean, out there on the sign, we delivered, 8,000 babies in our career or whatever, or something. I don't know. I mean, why would you not promote the good quality outcomes? There's a Dr. Wickline up in New York. Go look at this guy's outcomes. He does all these joint replacements and does it opioid free and all this. Unbelievable what he's done. Look at his outcomes. They're crazy. You ought to have him on your show. Unbelievable what he's doing. And he talks about it, but that needs to get out there. And I think the doctors need to get out there and do it. The hospitals are great. And I'll tell you a quick story, very quick. Have you ever been to a benefit education meeting, or probably in your world called an open enrollment? Of course not. You were a doctor. You never had to go.
That's right.
I love it. You were too busy meeting with the detail person getting that lunch. No, I'm having fun.
It's the only time I ever ate.
Remember that day back in the day, they called them detail people, and all that, and so forth. So anyway, we had at the Gasparilla, we have a hospital that we were able to work a direct contract out with, and we had them attend our benefit education meeting. I bet you there's been no benefit advisor or broker in the country that's ever had a hospital show up at their benefit education meeting. So, and I give some credit to the hotel and Liz Strock and Liz, the benefits champion, Glenn Price, CFO, great partners. They're awesome. They've done unbelievable work down there, and we had them come in. And you know what they did? I'm just sharing this with you because I think it's important. This is how out of touch I think people are. So this is a workforce of, all kinds of incomes, a lot of maintenance, a lot of custodial. It's a hotel. It's a really nice hotel, but you know what I'm talking about. So they're making, meager incomes, and they're out there. And this hospital administrator comes in a suit, a tie, and he starts talking about free parking and the Da Vinci robot system.
Wow. How
And
impressive.
their outcomes not great, and people know Leapfrog, which I'm not a personal fan of. I think CMS has got better accurate ratings for hospitals, but anyway, the way they do their system is different. But anyway, it doesn't have the best of scores. They're being penalized for something years ago still, and everybody knows it. So everyone knows it. I think what you should do is you should come in there, and my point about the Da Vinci robots and all that, and every reading I've done has never proved the robots are more accurate and less error prone than a human doctor. I mean, I don't know. You tell me, but the research I've done is what I've seen. But you can charge for those things, I know. So
Yep.
when you advertise that in free parking, that's a problem. What should have happened is, hey, folks, I'm going to slice it up, make it real. Take my coat off, undo my tie, and say, we know you think our hospital is not a good hospital. But let me tell you why the ratings are where it is. And let me tell you what we're doing to correct it. And we just like you to give us an opportunity to come in. That's all they had to say. But instead, they're the administrator and they're that. So, and focused on Da Vinci robots and parking. And they're good people. But I'm just trying to tell you, that's the problem with healthcare in America. Right there. I mean, and when you look, why are the insurance companies' names on stadiums, on buildings, and all this stuff? And why the hospitals own, like in Macon, one of the hospital systems owns all this land as a nonprofit and has businesses competing with folks that are paying taxes in a for-profit system. How can that be?
That's the way it rolls, is it not?
I'm telling you, if they paid property taxes like everybody else, that'd be pretty nice for the community. It's just crazy. And and they don't, the for-profit hospitals do more charitable care than the nonprofits do when they've studied it,
Yeah.
which is part of the status
I've
of being a
noticed
nonprofit.
that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I don't know, and I'm not trying to just pick on the hospitals, but it really is a cartel. I mean, the hospitals, and again, please, I'm a fan of the physicians. The physicians to a little degree in the fee-for-service environment, and they're forced to operate in that, and it's not their fault. The only people that can get out of the direct primary care doctors, I think it's pretty hard to get out of it if you're another specialty. But the brokers and the insurance companies and the pharmacy benefit managers, the PBMs, program billing millions. When you look at that and that whole game of how it all works, no one wants their costs to go down except the employer, because everyone benefits the more the costs go up. So that's what I call the cartel. And I don't know of a better term. I never forget a gentleman, we spoke at a big risk managers association in Florida for schools. And I called up, I said, Kevin, we had in all, but guess who all the sponsors were for the meeting, Dr. Cook? Who do you think the sponsors were?
I bet they had a lot of money.
They were all bukas. Okay.
Of course.
And so,
Why not?
and I was scared. I was scared. I went over and showed a couple of my slides. They said, yeah, probably pull that one, pull this one. Cause I will tell you before we wrap up, there's six, I'm going to do it real quick. There's 6 deficiencies in healthcare. All right. Here they are. And if you come up with another one, then we'll add it and we'll call it 7. But I've given this talk around the country called the 6 opportunities in healthcare. We thought deficiencies was negative. So we've turned it into opportunities for employers. And if they follow that model, they can fix it, as you've seen us do. So here are the deficiencies. Number 1 is embedded conflicts of interest, i.e. cartel. Number 2, lack of quality and pricing transparency. Number 3, fraud, waste, and abuse. Medical billing errors is a part of that. And a big part of that, my wife's laparoscopic appendectomy, $29,984 laparoscopic appendectomy. There were $10,696 of billing errors on that bill that should never have been paid. We're paid by United Healthcare. All right. And the traditional PPO discount game, we sort of covered that. Discount off of what, right? Everybody's promoting these discounts. They never ask about the starting price. They just talk about discounts. And then the pharmaceutical shell game. And lastly, the lack of information and data that you can't get from these bukas. You can't get it on a group.
Yeah.
So going back to this, the cartel, as I called it then, I softened it to embedded conflicts of interest. But when I'm in front of this group of people, it's about 400 people in the room. And one of the people from Pinellas County, when I started to talk, I said, Kevin and Selena have got a choke collar on me. So if you see me twitch, then I've crossed the line. So I just want y'all to know, everybody laughed. And so this Pinellas County risk manager said, Carl, isn't our TPA supposed to be reviewing all our medical bills? And I'm not kidding you when I say this, Dr. Cook. I don't know what came over him, but I said, y'all been great. Have a great day. And I walked out of the room. And I came back in. I kind of shrugged my shoulders, and everybody was erupted in laughter. But obviously, the answer is heck no, they're not. Heck no, they're not. But the point was, after the conference was over, I called Kevin. I said, Kevin, how did we do? And he goes, half the board liked your talk, and the other half didn't. I said, well, let's don't worry about the half that liked it. Why didn't they like it? Well, they didn't like you calling our partners the cartel. And I said, well, Kevin, I thought it was a nicer term than mafia and organized crime, but
Really?
yeah. So and that's my point, and that is all the school districts in Florida, Dr. Cook. They're sitting there, and the conference is paid for by them. Their rooms are paid for by the bukas. Why do we put up? And you ask me how we fix it. You tell me, man. I don't know, because that is crazy. And I tell you, they like the talk. It was one of my first really big talks in July 17 in Lido Key, Florida, which right there, you've been down there, Sarasota.
Sure.
It's right there. And that was the audience. And, you tell me, but that right there is a problem. And the other problem, and we've learned a lot from our city manager, Terry, down in Arcadia, great fellow, done some wonderful jobs in cities in Florida, is it's just people don't want to rock the boat. And they are scared as self-preservation. And you even have it in the private employers to some degree, a lot less there than you do in these municipalities. And these municipalities and these school districts, Dr. Cook, need our help more than anybody. And we could make a difference. I think we could help save the state of Georgia health plan, state benefit health plan, 650,000 lives. We think we could save close to $1 billion with just an idea or two. We don't want to manage the plan. We just have an idea or two. $1 billion, Dr. Cook. The budget's $3 billion. And boy, you think we had the play. We got it. We spoke in front of the Texas legislature. Thanks to our good buddy David Blatt, head of health policy for the Texas Public Policy Foundation. We spoke out there in Texas legislator. My own Georgia people won't listen to me. So these are the kind of things that we're fighting. And you know all this. I'm sorry. I'm just rambling here. I apologize.
I applaud your enthusiasm, and as I listen to you, it makes me reflect on one of the things that has mystified me throughout my entire life, and that is how many people, myself included from time to time, are more inclined to stay with the devil we know as opposed to the one that we don't know. And it does take some courage to make that leap. But with people like you around spreading the truth, I think there is at least some reason to believe that we might see some change. I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime, but it really does warm my heart to know that somebody is making an effort. Well, Carl, what we're going to do now is I'm going to close my mic and give you an opportunity to embark on what gives us the name of the show. So I'm going to close my mic and sit very quietly. And audience, Mr. Carl Schuessler Jr. is going to give us his personal prescriptions for success.
Thanks, Dr. Cook. As usual, as I told you before, it's probably a lot more than is necessary. But as I thought about it, when you ask this, I think it's real simple. I think number one, be yourself. Stay true to yourself. You can't ever go wrong with being yourself. And that's one thing that I have always tried to do. What you see is what you get. And I think that's just so important. Don't be someone you're not. Secondly, be humble. Don't forget where you came from. Third, be passionate. Find something you're passionate about. It's contagious. And I think when it comes from the heart, everyone can tell it's genuine. And I think that's so important. Fourth, be convicted and committed. Have conviction for what you stand for and do, and be committed. Unfortunately, our world is very non-committal. Number five, establish quality relationships that stand the test of time. Obviously, I think you putting things first with the Lord. My spouse, Missy Schuessler, who has just been an unbelievable partner, and I can't thank enough for her unwavering support. It's been tough at times, and my family, they're just fantastic. And support groups you have to have. So establish quality relationships to stand the test of time. Outside of those, other good relationships that you can lean on in the good times and the bad times. Find good mentors. I can't say enough about that. My mother and father, 100%. I learned so much from them, as I always said, and I hope my daughter, she fights me right now, 22, big time nurse now, and going into the real world. She hadn't come to the conclusion that I didn't realize how smart my parents were. I realized that when I was about 22, 23 years old. She hadn't gotten there yet. But anyway, my mother and father have been great mentors. And then from a business standpoint, Barry Murphy, co-founder Mitigate Partners with me. I can't thank Barry enough from the bottom of my heart. The things I've learned from him and working with him, and business acumen, and how to conduct yourself. And he's just been a marvelous, marvelous teacher. Now I'm mentoring him. So Barry, you need to listen to me more. All right. And then collaborate. I think the older I get, Dr. Cook, the more I'm open to others. And when I was young, I was more closed. And so collaborate, as we said, 1 + 1 = 20. I don't think anyone has a corner of the market of all good ideas. Always pay it forward. Always help people. Always pay it forward. And one I like a lot is, don't let failure be your judge. Let it be your teacher. It's okay to fail, but learn from it. And any successes that you have, or any time we're done with a meeting, the first question I always ask is, what could we have done better? And some people, let's focus on the positives. Well, focus on the positives doesn't help you. What didn't work? What could we do better? That is all I have. If you want some more, let me know.
Well, we might just have you back to give us some more. It's really fascinating to hear you talk about these things, Carl, and it's been very enjoyable for me. I'm sure it's going to be enjoyable for our audience. We have a hard time seeing outside our world as healthcare practitioners, and I will speak for many of my colleagues when I tell you that we're grateful that there are people like you who have got your heart and your brain in the right place, and we're very lucky to have you around. Before we go, I want to give you an opportunity to advertise a bit. So if you want to give us email addresses, websites, Twitter handles, books you've written, or anything that you'd like to publicize, let her rip, my friend.
Website is www.mitigatepartners.com, and social media, we've got our Carl Schuessler on LinkedIn, Mitigate Partners on LinkedIn, Fair Cost Health Plan on LinkedIn, and also on Twitter. So at least 6 of those. Our YouTube channel, just go to YouTube and Mitigate Partners, and there's a lot of wealth of information, 70 plus videos of, unfortunately, a lot are me, and I'm sure nobody will want to do that after hearing this podcast, but there's a lot of good stuff there, and a lot of talks that have been filmed and so forth. And then anyone that ever want to call me, I'm always there to help. I do have to be guarded of my time, but if someone calls and they have a purpose, then I would love to hear from them, and I would love to help. Any physicians that are out there, anything I can do, y'all are near and dear group to my heart. And so, I lived through all that, grew up the son of one. So anyone that wants to call, 404-277-7852.
Well, Carl, thank you so much for being here. I know that you, as you have pointed out, you have to be careful of your time, and you were very generous to be with us today. And we're grateful that you spent some time with us on Prescription for Success. And thanks again for being here.
It's an honor, and I appreciate all the work you guys are doing at MD Coaches and everything else you and Rhonda are doing. It's a needed service, 100%. So thank you for the opportunity.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today for the rest of my conversation with Carl Schuessler, Jr. We would really love it if you'd become a subscriber to the podcast and hear even more from our guests in a much more casual setting where they answer my rapid-fire questions. You can find us on any popular podcast platform. We look forward to your feedback, and we depend on it to help us get better. Special thanks to Ryan Jones, who composes and performs our theme music. And don't forget to fill your prescription for success with my next episode.